with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, O Lord.
On a Sabbath day, Jesus had gone for a meal to the house of one of the leading Pharisees, and they watched him closely. He then told the guests a parable, because he had noticed how they picked the places of honor. He said this, "When someone invites you to a wedding feast, do not take your seat in the place of honor. A more distinguished person than you may have been invited, and the person who invited you both may come and say, 'Give up your place to this man.' And then, to your embarrassment, you would have to go and take the lowest place. No, when you are a guest, make your way to the lowest place and sit there, so that when your host comes, he may say, 'My friend, move up higher.' In that way, everyone with you at the table will see you honored. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and the man who humbles himself will be exalted." Then he said to his host, "When you give a lunch or a dinner, do not ask your friends, brothers, relations, or rich neighbors, for fear they repay your courtesy by inviting you in return. No, when you have a party, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind. That they cannot pay you back means that you are fortunate, because repayment will be made to you when the virtuous rise again." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Just a little clarification about the first reading. In your bulletins you would have had Sirach, but in the lectionary you've got Ecclesiasticus. It's actually two names for the same book. Just like in the other book, Ecclesiastes is also called Kohelet. Just two books for the same, like we have Apocalypse and Revelation. The book of Apocalypse, the book of Revelation, okay? Today Jesus is talking about something that's a fundamental human need. The need to be honored, to be affirmed, to be respected, to be acknowledged. Everybody has this need. And I really mean a need. We are made to be honored. We are made to be respected. What do you think God is going to do for us in heaven for all eternity when He's going to let us share in His glory? He's going to honor us and respect us for being faithful to Him for a tiny, tiny little amount of time, even though it's a lifetime and feels like it's a lot, but compared to eternity, it's nothing. That's what God will be doing for us, to honor us for all eternity. And this is a genuine, deep human need, because it's part of what a creature, a spiritual creature like us, is designed to have. But the way the parable pans out, it almost seems as though God is saying, or Jesus is saying, that we should not be following this desire within us, or that there's somehow something broken there. And the answer is yes, there is something broken. But just like all good things that God has created at the dawn of the world, because of original sin now, so many of those good things within us have been distorted in some way, and they need to be corrected by proper virtue or virtue. And so the desire to be honored, if we don't check it, it can go out of control, because we're all prone to pride in one form or another, or vanity. That desire fuels the genuine, legitimate desire to be honored and respected and affirmed, and can make it go out of control. We've all seen people, whether in our workplace, in our classrooms, in our parishes, in our whatever, our social groups, who are always interested in big noting themselves. Anyone ever seen or known someone like this? My goodness, I can't believe, where have you been, the rest of you? I mean, I see people like this often. Anyway, and I see a lot of virtuous people too. I must tell you, and that impresses me deeply and sometimes even moves me to tears. But people who are always trying to big note themselves in one form or another. And this doesn't just happen in social groups or in politics. It happens sadly also in the church. And that's why the most common argument amongst the apostles was which one of them was the greatest. 3 times the evangelists, and Luke even in the Last Supper passage of the Gospel, he says that the apostles were arguing which one was the greatest, which one was the most important. He sees this deep longing, this deep need. Do you know who I am? Yeah. But why don't you acknowledge me? Why don't you give me the pat on the back that I hunger and long for? But this can so easily go out of control, and Jesus saw it. St. Luke sets the stage. He goes to the house on the Sabbath day, where everyone's supposed to be resting, to the house of one of the leading Pharisees. Leading Pharisee, is he going to keep contact and friends with the scribes? No. With the lower Pharisees? No. Who's he going to invite to his house? Others like himself. Others like himself. What's Jesus saying then? Is he saying that we shouldn't, for example, if we're doing a particular job now, and we feel we've got a good handle on it, that we shouldn't try to go to the next position and, develop our skills and our talents? No, he isn't saying that. We should, in fact, seek to develop our skills to the maximum level possible. St. Thomas Aquinas himself mentions that a man, a woman, is happiest when exercising his or her own gifts. Man is happiest when he's exercising his gifts. Why? Because those gifts are given by God to us. And then when we are exercising them, we feel a deep satisfaction. We feel a contentment. In a word, we feel happiest. You just think about it yourselves. When are you most deeply happy? And I would bet some good money that it's when you are exercising your gifts. Those things that you're good at, that you know you're going to succeed at. And when you do them, you see the fruits of your labours. And that brings back deep satisfaction, or it should bring back deep satisfaction. So Jesus isn't saying we shouldn't seek to develop ourselves to make the greatest contribution possible. But he's saying, what is our real motive? What is our real ambition? Because ambition in itself isn't wrong. I mean, in the Gospels, St. Paul himself says, be ambitious for the higher gifts, faith, hope, and love. But so often we settle for lesser ambitions. Because to be truly ambitious for the higher gifts requires a lot of self-sacrifice, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of denying of ourselves. So we can settle for the lesser things, that we cut corners. So it's important that we, in fact, seek to develop ourselves as much as possible. But to not do it for the sake of getting our own glory. Now you might say, well, what's going to be the difference between getting the glory now and getting the glory in heaven, Father? The difference is this. Very often, the glory that we seek for ourselves, if we are going to seek that glory for ourselves, is about being puffed up, is about saying, oh, how good I am. It's not true. If I've succeeded, it's because God has given me a gift to succeed. All our successes in this life, even the human successes, are there because God has enabled us to. And Jesus, very courageously, at his trial, when he says to Pontius Pilate says to him, do you not have realized that I can crucify you or I can set you free? What does Jesus say? Oh yes, I know, please save me. No, he doesn't say that. He says, I know. That's why the one who handed you over to me. He says, you would have no power over me unless it were given to you from above. Bang! The courage of the God-man in the face of authority stands up. And that's why the one who handed you over to me has the greater guilt. If any of us succeeds in anything, even a small thing in life, it's because God has carried us with his grace. Even the most ordinary things. And as we grow in maturity and in love of God, we will come to realize more and more how even on those simple things that we do well, that we actually are being sustained by God. So yes, we should develop ourselves as much as possible, but it means we need to keep those desires and our intentions truly upright, so that our need to be honored doesn't take over the goal of our lives or wherever we are, our workplace. So if we are in a community, in a group, trying to fulfill a particular role, am I trying to serve? Am I trying to help the others? Or am I trying to dominate them, lord it over them, put myself in the spotlight so that I end up getting the pat on the back while perhaps others do the hard work? I'm sure or many of you would be familiar with that old series, Keeping Up Appearances. And you had Mrs. Bucket, but Mrs. Bucket preferred to pronounce it Bouquet, to keep up the appearance that she's refined and high class and so forth. Her desire for acknowledgement was there, was legitimate, but the way she went about it was fake. And everybody seemed to know except herself. And those things, there are the Mrs. Bouquets around us in our various circles. Sometimes we can be the Mrs. Bouquet. How do these things happen? It happens in all sorts of ways, but always it happens very subtly. Yesterday I went for a haircut, and every time I go for a haircut, some of you heard me say this before, my left sideburns are always shorter than my right. So my head feels heavier, it means this way, Why is that? I always try to, anyway, the barber always does a good job and evens them out. Well, what's it got to do with? It's got to do with the fact that I'm left-handed. So it's easier to shave and reach the sideburns when I'm left-handed. My left sideburns, that is. But the right, I've got to reach over. And I'm not as good at shaving with my right hand as I am with the left. So that's the difference. And it happens gradually. So this disordered desires for ambition, a false ambition, grows within us very subtly. And we need to be careful of it, so that when it raises its head, and it is an ugly head, we need to know how to not push it away as if, no, those sorts of things touch others, but they never touch me. If it's part of me, then I need to address it. When I was in Rome for 6 years, I saw a lot of this, unfortunately, living in a house of Vatican officials, and I saw also some real holy men, and they suffered because of these things. But it's a reality. And one of the things that Pope Francis did when he came into his pontificate was to remove the whole thing about titles of monsignors. You know how the title of Monsignor? Okay, sometimes you hear it. We have a few now in our diocese. But there are in fact 3 levels of Monsignors. And he said, I'm going to make a rule that now only priests who are 65 or older can receive the title of Monsignor, to try and remove sort of the careerism and the clericalism and these false ambitions. And so that's the way it is. But then there was a reaction amongst the Vatican officials, the cardinals, said, well, this is part of the way in which we honour the guys who work for us, So what's happened now? The rest of the church, it's 65, but in the Vatican, within 5 years, these titles come. Now, The problem is not the title itself, is that whenever there's an honour, if a person's heart is not in the right place, honours can always lead to a person being puffed up. There's a whole lot of other secular titles, we have in the church, dames and knights and this order and that order and so forth. All of these things can potentially be very dangerous. We have them, in our society, the Australian Medal, and Member of Australia, the Knights of the British Empire, and a whole lot of things. It's good and fitting to honour people, and important. And we should in fact seek to pay compliments whenever we see that they are due. It's a way of really building people up. But when we are on the receiving end of compliments and honours, please pray that God will protect your heart. And if you sense a pride and arrogance beginning to dwell within you, put yourselves on your knees and ask to be prepared for it and protected from it rather. Two ways in which these things within us, these false desires, a false seeking of honour, can be helped. First of all is through prayer, to ask the Lord to help us, to protect us, to preserve us from these things. Secondly, to make good use of the sacrament of penance. The Lord has given us this sacrament for our benefit. By the way, does anyone know what time the new confessions are in the parish? 10 to 11 Saturday, where? Here. Okay, everyone knows? No excuse, slip that right in. Okay. So, and I'd love to see more and more of you at confession. Please keep me busy with confession. And in case you ever think, I'm going to think badly of you, well, if you heard my confession, you might not think so. So, so just bear in mind, and the confessional is a beautiful sacrament of mercy. So, prayer and the confessional are two things that we can do ourselves to help us keep the genuine desire for honour at bay. God also has a very secret weapon that He uses to help us. And these are called, or this secret weapon is called humiliation. Humiliations, when we experience them, will seem always as being very unjust, very unfair. And sometimes they certainly are. Other times they are deserved. But humiliation pops the ego button or bubble and helps us to realize, I am grounded. I'm grounded. And some people just seem to be grounded by nature. Others seem to live in an airy-fairy kind of world. So when humiliations come to you, yes, you lick your wounds and you maybe, feel sorry for yourself, fine. But ask God, again, turn to prayer, to help you make good use of this, to realize that before God we are all very little. None of us is better than the other person. None of us. Because we're all children of God, deeply loved by Him. We have different skills and talents and abilities. Big deal. If God didn't give them to us, would we have them? No, we wouldn't. So let's pray that we may indeed seek the lowest place. So in this way we keep check of that legitimate desire that God has put into our hearts, that will be honoured and fully respected, you might say, in heaven, but on this earth. Let's choose the lowest place, so that in doing we may be found worthy of called